I didn't grow up hearing ghost stories. Where I'm from, people didn't really believe in that kind of thing. If something bad happened, there was always a practical explanation: an accident, a crime, someone making a bad decision. That is probably why I didn't take the warnings seriously when I first heard about Red Hollow. Red Hollow isn't on most maps anymore. It used to be a small, well established settlement in the southwest, about an hour outside a growing desert town. Built decades ago, back when mining money flowed freely. It wasn't a ghost town in the traditional sense. It had schools, stores, paved roads. Families lived there for generations. Then, one night, it emptied. Every house abandoned, cars left behind, meals half cooked, no bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. Local records say Red Hollow and the surrounding settlements, dozens of them, were deserted within a single night. No evacuation order, no disaster, no explanation that ever fully made sense. People stopped asking questions eventually, except for the stories. They say Red Hollow was cursed, that the people chose disappearance over something worse, and that whatever they left behind never left with them. I didn't believe any of that when I drove out there. I was working freelance at that time, odd jobs, night shifts, security work. I had heard about Red Hollow from a coworker who mentioned it casually, like it was a joke. People who try to live there don't last, he said. Couple of days, sometimes hours. I laughed and asked what he meant. He didn't laugh back. That should have been enough to stop me. It wasn't. A week later, I drove out to Red Hollow just before sunset. The road leading there was cracked and barely maintained, like it hadn't seen regular traffic in years. The GPS stopped working about 10 minutes before I arrived. The town itself looked intact. That was the unsettling part. Houses still stood, windows unbroken. Streetlights leaned but hadn't fallen. A church sat at the center of town, its doors hanging open like it was waiting. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused. I parked near what used to be the main road and stepped out. The air was dry, completely still. No wind, no insects, no distant highway noise, no birds, just silence. I told myself I'd stay one night, document the place, prove to myself that there was nothing supernatural about it. I chose one of the houses at random. Inside, the dust was thick, but the furnitures were still there. Family photos lined the walls. A calendar hung in the kitchen, stopped on the same date decades ago. The kitchen table was set for dinner. Plates, cups, chairs pulled halfway out. That detail bothered me more than anything else. People don't live like that unless they think they are coming back. As night fell, the temperature dropped fast. I set up my sleeping bag in the living room and tried to relax. That is when I noticed something strange. The house made no sounds, no settling wood, no wind through cracks, no distant animals. It was like the building itself was holding its breath. I didn't sleep much that night. Sometime after midnight, I heard footsteps, slow, careful. They came from outside, moving down the street. I held my breath and listened. The steps stopped directly in front of the house. Then they moved again, circling it. I didn't see anyone through the windows. No shadows, no movement. After a while, the footsteps faded. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of people standing in the road, watching the houses, all of them facing inward, none of them speaking. The second day, I explored more of the town. Every house told the same story. Lives interrupted mid-motion, bags packed but not taken, doors left unlocked. At the edge of town, I found something different. A stone marker, half buried in sand. There was writing carved into it, worn but still readable. It wasn't a memorial. It was a warning. I won't repeat it word for word, but the meaning was clear. This land is not empty. We left so you wouldn't have to die. Do not stay. I remember laughing nervously after reading it, like acknowledging it might give it power. That night, I decided I would leave in the morning. I didn't get the chance. Just after sunset, the lights in the house flickered on. I hadn't connected the generator, every lamp, every overhead light, all at once. Then came the sound, not footsteps this time, voices, low, overlapping, coming from everywhere and nowhere. They didn't speak clearly. It was more like the echo of speech, as if the walls remembered conversations that had happened long ago and were replaying them badly. I stood frozen and the voices grew louder. Then I heard a knock on the door. One knock, slow, deliberate. I didn't answer. The knock came again, this time closer, not on the door, on the inside wall. Something tapped from within the house, moving room to room, knocking from behind the plaster. I backed toward the door, my hands shaking. That is when I realized I wasn't alone anymore. The air in the room felt crowded, heavy, like too many people standing too close. I couldn't see them, but I could feel where they were, around me, behind me, pressing in. The whispers turned into words, not sentences, just names, dozens of them. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached my car. It wouldn't start. The dashboard lights flickered wildly, then went dead. Behind me, the town came alive. Every house lit up, doors open. Figures stood in the doorways, dark shapes, unmoving, all facing me. I didn't look at their faces. I didn't want to know if they had any. I don't remember leaving Red Hollow. The next thing I knew, I was driving down the highway just before sunrise, my car working perfectly, my phone suddenly flooded with missed notifications. I never went back. I never talked about it. Until now. Because last week, I was looking through old photos on my phone. Photos I don't remember taking. They show Red Hollow at night, lights on, people standing in the streets, and one photo taken from inside a house, facing a wall, with a message stretched into the plaster. We stayed so you wouldn't have to. You stayed anyway. Since then, I have been hearing footsteps outside my apartment at night. Slow, careful, stopping right at my door, and every time I check the lock, I see dust on the floor. Undisturbed, except for footprints facing inward.